Okay, so Dr. Gorka, we have the video here of the strike in Somalia that President Trump ordered. You guys declassified and released this video. I want to play this video for us and then see if you can explain for us here what we are seeing in this video. Yeah. So here, if you can just...
So this is actually the #1 target. So there were multiple targets. This is a cave complex, more than half a dozen caves across northern Somalia used by ISIS. And this was just incredibly fortuitous that as we were prepared to drop munitions, he starts walking outside the cave. This is a key.
So this box around this
individual
guy
walking around the cave is a key. There he goes. And the munitions have been dropped and he ceases to exist. This is just the first part of a multi munition drop operation. And as you see it,
and then so like when we see this explosion here, like that is a U.S. strike. That's
a U.S. strike. That is a certain platform deploying munitions. That's a certain U.S. capability that has just dealt the final blow to a key recruiter, financier, and trainer. This individual, who we've been monitoring under the Biden administration for more than a year, had been recruited. Now, this is why he's important. This isn't just about Somalia or about ISIS. He was recruiting foreign nationals to bring them to this complex, to train them, to fund them, and then to send them to America, to send them to allied nations, to Europe, to kill innocent people. This isn't just a jihadi. This is a person who had a force multiplier effect for ISIS.
So President Trump knew ordered this strike within moments of you guys presenting the plan to him.
Within the whole meeting in the Oval was maybe 2 minutes long. We put out the map. We showed him the cave complex. We said, this is the #1 guy hiding here. He's recruited foreigners. He's killed Americans. He's going to recruit more. And he just said, kill him. Mm-hmm. And less than 30 hours later, we're in the Situation Room with the National Security Advisor, with my CT team, and we're watching this video live. And it's not a movie. It's not, Jason Bourne or Mission Impossible. That is not a special effect. That is a real munition dealing death to a key ISIS jihadi.
Okay, so take us inside both rooms. Let's start with the Oval Office. How does this process go? Like, who comes up with this idea? What's the plan? Right. How do you present it to the president? Yeah. Take us inside the room. What's the room look like? You guys are sitting there in front of the Resolute desk. Give us all the details.
So it starts with weeks and maybe months of intelligence preparation. People in the bowels of certain buildings around this area who are using our platforms to follow, to track, to film the most dangerous leaders of Al-Qaeda, of ISIS, of Al-Shabaab, of the Houthis. So we generate this huge amount of intelligence. It's called patterns of life, where these people go, who they meet with, where they hide out, where they train, where they go to eat. So we create this full picture of where the high-value targets are and how long they are.
Slow down. Can you explain what a high-value target is? How do you identify who a high-value target is, and then
I love this. Nobody asks the really important questions. So thank you, man. So the way this is done is, let's step back a little bit. So I won't go into all the details, but the intelligence community, based upon the president's directions, has listed the most famous global jihadi groups in tiers. We have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, depending upon the threat they pose to America, to U.S. citizens, and to servicemen abroad.
And this guy that we see in this tier 1 target.
Totally, tier 1. Okay. And our intelligence community vectors our intelligence assets, technical, satellite, signals intelligence, human intelligence, liaison services, partners and allies who maybe have access to one of these targets. We vector them against the people who we have already identified as key members. And then through that intelligence, their cell phone usage, what they're doing on the internet, we identify who is doing what. Is one of them the ideologue, like bin Laden? Is one of them a recruiter, like this individual? Is the other person a logistician who's bringing the parts together for bombs and so forth? And as a result, just like the groups are stacked in tiers, within a threat group like Al-Qaeda or ISIS, we stack the individuals. We call them personas based upon how crucial they are to the organization. If you're the bag carrier for this guy, you're not that crucial. If you're his driver, not that crucial. If you're the actual recruiter, the financier, if you're the head of their social media output, that puts you at a top level within the organization. So that's how we prioritize the persona list.
So when you say a high value target, you're talking about both a high tier organization, like a tier 1, and a senior leadership inside that organization.
Senior leadership or somebody who has a skill set that is hard to replace. Like, so now, and this is part of what I'm doing into kind of, reform or get the intelligence community better on CT, if they have somebody who's really good at social media, who's really good at videos, at putting things out on Telegram, on the favorite platforms, that guy may not be a leader in terms of commanding jihadi terrorists to do stuff, but he's incredibly important in terms of recruitment, right? Bringing people into the organization. So not just leaders and financiers and recruiters, also people who are good at media and propaganda are deemed to be high value targets. So that's how we begin. We collect the intelligence, we rack and stack organizations, and we rack and stack the people inside the organizations.
Okay, so now you guys have determined this guy is a high value target. Right. Now you mentioned the process takes a while, right? The intelligence gathering process. That would suggest, because this strike was carried out in the first 2 weeks of the administration, that the previous administration knew about this guy for quite some time and didn't do anything about it.
For more than a year and a half, man. For more than a year and a half, they had this guy in their sights. They had the patterns of life that he'd go to this cave compound. He'd usually spend a certain amount of time there, which cave he was in. This was all known to the Biden administration.
Mm-hmm. And these are career intelligence officials that are gathering. They're not political people, right? Like, and they're presenting it to the political people.
They're pushing it up the chain.
And the political people in the Biden White House aren't doing anything about it.
No, they're not doing anything. And let me just share this with you with no names divulged, but as somebody said to me, inside the community, the counterterrorism community, can you imagine what it's like to be a targeter, a person who watches these screens? You go to the bowels of a building at 6 o'clock at night, and you spend the next 12 hours looking at computer screens, looking at thermal images, looking at surveillance video for 12 hours a day. And you're reporting up the chain. Saw this HVT go into this house in Sana'a. Saw this member of Al-Qaeda go into this cave complex. And for more than a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years under Biden, nothing happens. You're pushing the intelligence up the chain from the intelligence community, from the Department of Defense, to the White House, to the NSC, to the National Security Advisor, to the Oval Office, and nothing happens. Can you imagine what that does to your morale? That you're watching evil people plot, plan, kill, and nothing's happening. That's what President Trump turned around on the second Thursday of the Trump administration.
Okay, so he's sworn in as president at noon on January 20th. That's inauguration day. Within 2 weeks, he orders this.
Right. It was a second Thursday, so that's like nine days in.
That's 9 days in. So, you guys were in the Oval Office. You guys, and because when President Trump is sworn in, you and Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, are sworn in that day as well.
So, I was. It was really funny. So, I was standing at the gate you walked through at 12 o'clock, because by law, I'm not Senate confirmed, so I can technically start work the second the president takes the oath of office as the commander-in-chief. So I'm waiting at the gate, and I've been told by the White House logistics people, your access card will start to work at 12:01. So I'm waiting at the gate, and I swipe my card, because I'm listening on my phone to the president give his oath of office. I'm listening, on YouTube. And say, okay, he's giving the oath of office, is this going to work? I swipe my brand new White House ID card. The thing opens and I walk in, and I am, because I'm not Senate confirmed, I am the deputy to the president, senior director for counterterrorism at 12:01 on January the 20th, and I walk into this building and we get to work.
Right. Okay. So now you guys assess in that first week you figure all this stuff out, and then you take a plan to the president.
Yes.
Right. So walk us through what the Oval Office is like.
Yeah.
And that when you and Mike Waltz are walking into the Oval Office, what was that meeting like with the president? You know, this second Thursday of the administration. Take us inside the room.
So first things first, let me be very, very clear. You don't get to kill a leading ISIS jihadi 10 days into the administration because of what Seb Gorka did, right? This is because of the incredible people we have inside the empire of the US military and the intelligence community. So without JSOC, without the CIA, without the DOD, without Delta Force and everybody else and the SEALs, we don't, Gorka walks in the building and then suddenly we have counterterrorism. It is because of patriots who want to do the job they weren't allowed to do for 4 years. So they're ready with the plan. They haven't been allowed to initiate it. So we have the plan. I present it to Mike Waltz, the National Security Advisor, former Green Beret. He says, okay, change this here, make this map big. The president loves visuals. He wants to see maps because he's a strategic thinker.
So you've got a map that you take in.
We've got a big color map with the cave complex.
On the Resolute desk.
Photograph of the HVT, the high value target we're going after. And we lay it down on the Resolute desk. We say, first things first, we're waiting outside. As you can tell, as you know, the president's schedule is a little bit plastic. You've got to be flexible with the president's schedule. Okay?
Absolutely.
So we had a tea
It's happened more than once with me.
Right. So even us inside the building, we were supposed to present this with Mike at 5 p.m. on Thursday. My Delta Force guy and I are standing outside the Oval till 5:50. Mike's inside with Secretary Rubio and with Rick Grenell, special envoy. They're talking about another issue. And I got to tell you this funny part. The president, what he's like. He sees me loitering in the outer office, and he's still talking to Mike, Secretary Rubio, Rick Grenell. He says, come on in. So he shoos us into the thing, and he says, go sit down, sit down. So we sit down on the comfy sofa next to the fireplace, which is so cool, roaring natural wood. I mean, this is not the Biden administration. He's got a roaring wood fire going in the Oval Office.
This is very cold times in January here in Washington.
But it was just so nice. This is roaring logs. And so we're sitting on the couch waiting with our maps, and then Rick gets up, and this is the speed of Trump. Think of this. Only in this Trump administration. This is the second Thursday. And Rick says, I got to go, Mr. President. I'm catching a plane to Venezuela to try and get our hostages out. And I'm going, I went up to Rick and I shook his hand and said, good luck, Rick. Tell me if you need us to send Delta to rescue you. And why is this funny? I'll jump forward 20 hours and I'm leaving the office and I see this tweet from Grenell with a selfie of him on a plane with 6 hostages. I'm going, this has got to be Photoshop. There's no way that less than 24 hours later, the special envoy to the president is on his way back with 6 illegally detained U.S. citizens from Venezuela. This is the speed of Trump. Anyway, it's just so.
And then moments later, you guys are having this meeting, right?
So Rick leaves, Secretary Rubio leaves. We hand the paperwork over to Mike. Mike puts it on the Resolute desk. He says, this photograph of this individual, this high-value target, ISIS planner, financier, recruiter. We've got him. We're watching him in this cave complex in northern Somalia, key to ISIS, and we've been following him for more than a year and a half. And the president goes, well, what do you mean? We've been watching, Biden's been watching him? Kill him. Gets out the Sharpie pen, the classic iconic pen. There's a box on the operational orders. He ticks the go box. He hands it off to us. The whole meeting was maybe 180 seconds. He says, go and do it. My JSOC, my military member, is plugged into all the places that need to know. He says, okay, it's time to go, it's time to get ready. And then the launch time was 9:50 on Saturday. So the president says yes, 6 p.m. on Thursday. We are back in the White House Saturday morning underneath the West Wing in the famous Situation Room. My team has lashed up the view screen.
This is less than 48 hours later.
Less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
We're lashed up with the elements, with the platforms. We're watching this stuff live. The go time is 9:50, and it's 9:48, and Mike is in a meeting in the Oval. I'm going, Mike's got to be here. We need the national security advisor. He walks in, 90 seconds. I mean, this is when you realize there's only one power like America's. He walks in at 9:48 and 30 seconds.
Into the situation room.
Sits down at the head of the situation room table.
This is the national security advisor.
Mike Waltz.
Yeah. Okay.
And exactly 9:50, 9,000 miles away in Somalia, that footage. I mean, it's just, you think you're in a Mission Impossible movie. No, it's real, and you're actually seeing bad people be killed.
So when you see this, you guys watch this live
yeah.
in the situation room.
Yeah.
What's that like in the situation room? Tell us about what the situation. I know there's only so much you can say about the situation room, but tell us what it's like in that room, seeing this live happen. Obviously, this version is the declassified version. You guys are seeing the real thing as it's playing out. But take us inside that room next.
It's kind of surreal, because you're inside a movie, you're in a Jason Bourne film, you're in a Mission Impossible movie, but you realize that's not special effects, that's not CGI, that's a massive piece of munition being dropped on the head of an ISIS killer, and it just the idea that we're sitting in Washington D.C. and it's not a recording, it's live.
So how is this footage getting taken, right? Is this coming in via satellite, or is this...
It's coming from, I'll just use the official phrase, an exquisite platform.
Okay.
An exquisite platform.
That's what we can say.
That's the official phrase.
So, and you guys have confirmation right there live that this guy's dead.
The way it works is usually, you can, if you have footage of this quality, I did not think we'd actually see him walking around the cave. Usually, if you've been following them long enough, you can tell by dress, by gait. Gait, the way somebody walks, is incredibly useful in terms of identification. However, and I won't go into all the ways it is done, but we usually wait between 24 and 48 hours for what we call the jackpot, which is the ID confirmation, which is done in situ if we have forces who can verify and go in, or it is done...
What does that mean, in situ?
People go in and they get photographic confirmation, body parts, so forth, or we do genetic testing. If the individual has been in our custody or in the custody of an allied nation that took a swab and has genetic confirmation, then we will run it past our record, our database, and we'll say, okay, we don't, so here's the important thing to remember, we don't announce the identity until we have the 100% confirmation. So the president announced this the same day. My incredible team got the declassified video within 3 hours. We had the, from the lanyard, from this is the catchphrase from my team's lanyard that we put on from his viral tweet that day. He said, after that successful attack, he said, if you threaten Americans, we will find you, we will kill you. I turned that into...
You have a keychain here.
For my team members, based upon the president's viral tweet after that operation, his line, we will find you, we will kill you if you threaten Americans. We announce a successful strike on an ISIS leader, an Al-Qaeda leader, but we don't mention the name until we have the 100% verification, which is usually a day or two later.